Sometimes you just gotta vacate a title. It's never fun, as usually it's not part of a story, and you don't want that. You want winners and losers. Out of nowhere shifts, if nothing else, make things more complicated. That's what Avril Lavigne was singing about. It does mean promoters have to come up with reasons though, and sometimes, my gosh. My name is Simon Miller, and here's the weirdest. Number 10, because Vince Russo wasn't a wrestler. When WCW decided to bring in WWF writers Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, it made sense to a point. If the competition is kicking your ass, why not try and take a piece of their pie? The issue was World Championship Wrestling was so desperate they give Russo way too much leverage, and yep, despite assuring fans he didn't want to be an on-screen character, Vince threw that in the bin and also made himself the world champion. I am not kidding. It was so silly as it came during a steel cage match with Booker T on Nitro, and as we had the escape the structure rule, Goldberg speared Russo so hard they crashed to the floor, and per the laws of the fight, it meant Vince Russo was now the champ. It's just another reason WCW died, even more so because he didn't even lose it. Russo just walked to the ring soon afterwards on Thunder and told the audience he was vacating this championship because he wasn't actually a wrestler. Okay, then answer me this, please. Why on earth were you fighting for a wrestling title to begin with? Number 9, Andre the Giant sells the title. Well, we all want to make some cash. This was great though, because it was proper outside the box thinking, and not in a way where the person in charge just makes themselves the champion. The in-story controversy around this one is cool too, and it's a conversation today. Ted DiBiase never won the WWF Championship, and maybe that was a mistake. The $1 Million Man character alone in the late 80s and early 90s would have been great at it. I suppose Ted knew this too, which is why he doubled down on his everybody has a price catchphrase, because he went and paid off Andre the Giant instead. Therefore, during the 1988 main event show, DiBiase ensured Hulk Hogan got screwed because Earl and Dave Hebner went evil referee, allowing Andre to destroy Hulkamania. Kinda. As Ted had helped and as the Giant had accepted the deal, he then passed over the belt to DiBiase, and man, people were rightfully furious. The $1 Million Man did work a few house shows as the champ too against Bam Bam Bigelow, but it was a ruse. WWF President Jack Tunney then decided this was not cool and forced DiBiase to vacate the belt. Of course, this all led to a tournament at WrestleMania 4. Number 8, Sid Vicious pins the wrong brother. I suppose this was inspired by the angle we just went through. It's all about twins again, and in fact they do look the same. Breaking news. Sid Vicious was awesome in WCW though, because he just had a way about him which brought him 2 WCW World titles throughout his time there. The first was on the 24th of January 2000. Man, you are not going to believe this. It actually started with a vacated title because Bret Hart had relinquished his world belt due to the concussion issues which would eventually end his career. That led WCW to pit Chris Benoit and Sid against each other to crown a new champion, and even though Benoit got the nod, he then walked out 24 hours later to join the WWF. That meant the prize was free again. This was madness. Then Commissioner Kevin Nash decided he should be champion, but Sid didn't like that, which led to Vicious versus a Harris brother, and if Sid won, he could fight Nash for the title. I know it's stupid, but it gets worse. Because the Master and the Ruler of the World did face Don Harris, and even though Vicious won, he actually didn't. Ron Harris had secretly switched places with his brother, meaning Kevin decided he was the rightful champion. People wonder why this belt had no credibility. Sid still went on to defeat Nash and Ron in a cage to win this thing. And it just hurts, man. Not in a good way. Number 7, because Dean Malenko wasn't Dean Malenko. The 1998 Cruiserweight title feud between Dean Malenko and Chris Jericho was really good. Their back and forth fights were a highlight of WCW, and when Jericho got the win uncensored, Dean had a little bit of a meltdown. He was just so mad at himself. He even vanished for 2 months as Chris jumped on that and laughed at the Malenko family. I mean, he even brought in Brother Joe and took the mick out of him. Commissioner J.J. Dillon didn't like that, and he decided we're going to have a battle royal. The winner is the number 1 contender. Now this was nuts because masked wrestler Ciclope won after Juventud Guerrera had simply shaken his hand and eliminated himself. What was that about? The big surprise was that the masked man was a liar because yes, this was Dean under a hood who instantly challenged Jericho, won the title with the Texas Cloverleaf. So good, fans loved it. Chris then spent the next 3 weeks protesting because Ciclope was not Malenko and therefore this shouldn't count. And because he was an asshole heel, he got his way. Now sure, in terms of wrestling this was bonkers because plenty of people have done the same and not been stripped, but it was also really good fun. proof that WCW's undercard is where the good stuff was. Number 6, because of disqualifications. Do not forget that the championship advantage doesn't exist all over the world. American Style is keen to tell you that a title can't change hands due to a DQ or countout, but not everybody subscribes to that. Even way back when, however, some wrestlers still use this to their advantage, which was true of Ric Flair and Greg Valentine during their reign as the NWA Tag Team Champions. In October 1977, these two won those belts and held them for 157 days. They clearly had a plan though, because nearly every match finished either by disqualification they caused, or by pushing their opponent so far they went and got DQ'd themselves. Very entertaining. Flair and Valentine then did it again in April 1978 when fighting Paul Johns and Ricky Steamboat, when NWA management lost it. You can't keep doing this. We are taking the belts off you. There you go, kayfabe fans. That's how you do it. Greg and Rick continued to team until 1979 before feuding later that year. Maybe they both blame the other for this ludicrous plan. Number 5, Oklahoma breaks the weight limit. So it is more awful WCW madness, and this is bottom of the barrel stuff. Everybody involved should be ashamed. We do go back to Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara because clearly they didn't like Jim Ross. That's fine too, because you don't have to get on with everyone. But as ever, these two took it too far. They insulted JR for having Bell's palsy. That is awful. It's why in January 2000, Edwards started calling himself Oklahoma, dressing up as Ross, and even mimicking his speech impediment. Because they had no respect for the cruiserweights either, they made him champion of that division, and he had a feud with Medusa. That would have been fine too. Medusa was great, but surprise, surprise, she was booked in evening gown matches. After Oklahoma defeated her for the belt as well, he quickly gave it up, because of course he was over the weight limit. The same question as earlier then. Why the flub was he allowed to compete in the first place? It led to a tournament to crown a new champion, which was won by Prince Iakea at Super Brawl. I tell ya, it's too little too late. Number 4, Shawn loses his smile. Hope he looked under the couch. I'm sure most of you know about this too, because it was quite infamous then, and it remains that way today. You'll also go down a rabbit hole when researching it, because everybody has a different opinion. Really, who knows? On the 13th of February 1997 Raw, however, HBK, the world champion, did go to the ring and said he was giving up his title. He had lost his smile. He was referring to a knee injury which was causing him so much pain he couldn't continue, and there was truth to that. Problem is, the likes of Bret Hart thought he was exaggerating because Michaels just didn't like losing championships. He was that guy. Now, this was apparently the rumored match for WrestleMania 13, but when a doctor said Shawn was done, he agreed. And then, yes, he did come back soon afterwards. So you can debate this one to your heart's content, but either way. The record books will show that HBK gave up his cold because of misplaced emotion. That doesn't sound very good. Number 3, the wrong dumpster. Wrestling is nuts. How the hell is that title even a sentence? In December 1997, though, Terry Funk came out of retirement number 42 because he had the opportunity to team with Cactus Jack in the WWF. Get it? They were best friends. They soon started a program with the New Age Outlaws for the tag team titles, and hey, it's pretty good. Gets lost in the shuffle these days, but all 4 threw themselves into it. After a failed attempt on Raw, a proper championship match got booked for WrestleMania 14, and due to all the previous shenanigans, it was going to be a dumpster match. I mean, why not? It was a proper over-the-top war with a wonderful ending, because Jack was able to throw Road Dogg and Billy Gunn onto a wooden pallet, as Charlie used a forklift to drop them in the bin. Excellent, our good guys had done it. This was a big trick though, as the next night on Raw, Vince McMahon revealed this wasn't the official dumpster on the contest, and therefore the win was null and void. Talk about being an asshole. It also meant the belts were now vacated as the two teams clashed one last time in a steel cage. The Outlaws won courtesy of D-Generation X. What a crazy story. Number 2, Dolph Ziggler has a reason. This era of WWE is so bad because they did this all the time. So frustrating. Dolph Ziggler winning the US title in 2017 was good. Most fans felt like he deserved that spot and he got it. Good. Great. Then dead. Because days after this victory, Ziggler walked to the ring and yep, he told us all he felt underappreciated and that we hadn't earned the right to enjoy his presence. That was dumb. All the crowd had ever done was cheer him. Dolph felt differently and he did go off on one before he laid the belt down on the ring floor as we all looked like idiots because we thought this was the start of a big Ziggler push. Instead, he quite literally vanished before magically returning in the Royal Rumble, where Finn Balor just threw him out. I guess he did get to fight for the world title at Fastlane, but he lost, and come Mania, he was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It was then clear there was no plan, and the poor United States title suffered because of it. I mean, he had literally tossed it to the side. It's not his fault, you can't argue with creative, but even today the reason is, we don't know, he just vacated it, because why not? Number one, Nicholas needs to go to school. Good grief, do I love this. Some people flipped out when we chat about it, but think of it as if you were a child. It was and always will be the dream. But at WrestleMania 34, we witnessed history, because Braun Strowman won the tag team titles. And who was his partner? A 10-year-old child from the crowd. Wonderful. I mean, Braun had become a number one contender by winning a tag team battle royal by himself, so let's not pretend this whole thing wasn't absurd. And look, Strowman wanted to challenge the Bar by himself. It was only general manager Kurt Angle that stopped him. Bless Sheamus and Cesaro too, because they sold this perfectly. And there was even one moment where it looked like the Swiss Superman was basically going to murder a kid and commit a crime. The big man made the save. When all was said and done, Nick had become the youngest champion in WWE history. But hey, because he had to go to school, he vacated the title on Raw. You have no idea how happy this made me. It was insane. Nicholas did vow to return one day, and that's the only way to make this better. When the time is right, have him make a huge comeback and turn heel on Braun Strowman. I'm not kidding either. I'd be so invested in that, you don't even know. Now please make sure you click the video on the screen to get even more crazy facts about WWE. Leave a comment below and you tell me what's the weirdest stipulation where somebody had to vacate a title. You can also like the video, share the video and subscribe, and mostly my friends, make sure you have a terrific day. I'll talk to you again soon.